You're listening to Pearl Bailey from 1946, and you're on the Soundbeat.
Who it was wrote it, or by whose pen it was signed.
Pearl Bailey made her Broadway debut that year, performing It's a Woman's Prerogative in St. Louis Woman. Though audiences weren't enamored of the play, her performance marked the beginning of a decades-long love affair between Bailey and the American public. That special time together would include a Tony Award for Hello, Dolly, to later pop culture staples like The Muppet Show, The Love Boat, and Hollywood Squares.
Kneel at that altar, it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind.
Old softy Richard Nixon even made it all official in 1970, proclaiming Bailey Ambassador of Love. The position was rumored to pay 80,000 hugs annually with a guaranteed pension of half that amount. Nixon even accompanied Bailey on the piano. Turns out he was an amateur composer. We're not fooling. Check out a video of his first concerto right now at soundbeat.org. Soundbeat is produced at the Belfer Audio Archive, Syracuse University Library. I'm Brett Barry.
I'm Dr. Anthony Lizowitz, and this is Climate Connections. The small city of Ithaca, New York has big plans for reducing climate change by making changes one house at a time. Luis Aguiar Torres is the city's director of sustainability.
The way we produce energy to heat up our buildings or to heat water or to cook or dry our clothes normally in most places comes from fossil fuels, either natural gas, propane, or fuel oil.
The city wants these fossil fuel burning furnaces, boilers, and appliances replaced by systems that run on electricity. That way they can eventually be powered by clean renewable energy instead. So Ithaca has launched a plan aimed at retrofitting all 6,000 existing houses and buildings across the city by 2030. Property owners will qualify for low or zero interest loans to complete energy efficiency upgrades and convert to electrical systems, such as air source heat pumps. The program is voluntary, but Aguiar Torres hopes that many property owners will choose to participate so the city can meet its ambitious goal. He says half measures will not be sufficient for tackling the climate crisis.
The sense of urgency needs to be shared with everybody, and I believe that's the only way we're going to achieve this.
Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication. To hear more stories like this, visit climateconnections.org.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1942. That was the day that Sue Cowan Williams filed a lawsuit for equal pay for black teachers in Little Rock, Arkansas. 86 black teachers worked in the city's segregated school system. They were all members of the Little Rock Classroom Teachers Association. In 1941, the teachers formed a salary adjustment committee to look into pay discrimination. What they found there was a wide gap between black and white salaries. The average white elementary school teacher made $526 a year, while the black teacher earned only $321. White high school teachers brought home $856 a year, while black teachers only made $567. Backed with this research, the committee presented a petition to the school board demanding an end to pay discrimination. The board tabled the petition, and that summer passed another round of unequal pay raises. The teachers then approached the NAACP and asked them to handle their case. Thurgood Marshall agreed to take up the lawsuit. Marshall would go on to become the first black U.S. Supreme Court justice. Sue Cowan Williams, the head of the English department at Dunbar High School, was selected as the plaintiff for the case. The teachers lost their lawsuit and then won on appeal, but Williams paid a price for her involvement. The next school year, the school district did not renew her contract. She was finally rehired to teach at Dunbar a decade later. But first, the school superintendent called Williams to ask her if she had, quote, learned her lesson. It was a lesson that many workers have learned, that there is often a high personal cost for standing up for justice on the job. Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
Welcome to the program. I've got a great show for you here on the Nosey Liberal. We're live. We're in our studio. Some might be watching on the YouTubes. I like side shots. I feel way more comfortable for those watching. You're going to be like, why is Tom not just doing a full frontal? I don't like full frontals. They scare me. So I'm doing side shots. I am comfortable doing a side shot. Plus, I have all my technology laid out. So I can do what I do best. Eventually, when I'm comfortable, I will have one camera pointing towards me that's an HD camera. But right now, I have these two side shots. For those watching the YouTube, you can go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel. This is the other side shot. I love this side shot. This particular one, I adore because it's out of the way. So you'll be seeing me use this particular side shot a lot more than the other one, which is right here. And this does not want to stay up. It's never wanted to stay up, but now you can see it not want to stay up. I love doing this show for you. I want to do a great morning show. I think we have one other, and it's the Stephanie Miller Show. And I decided that I have to buckle down and do a 3-hour show. There's no way that I can do 2 hours and be a good enough show for you. So what we now have is a 3-hour broadcast that is going to be the Nosey Liberal every day. And we'll bring you news, views, stuff from the internet. We're going to have on the second Rick Smith will be with us from the Rick Smith Show. We're going to have guests. We're going to have Tom Hartman this month. We're going to have Jeff Waldorf this month. We're going to have some great guests. And I will eventually get all the audio and everything right so you can hear me properly and I'm not blasting your eardrums for the show. So there's that. See, this is the headshot that I cannot stand this, but I'm looking at the computer that is our main computer. So I have to give you this headshot, and I hate it. This is the headshot I'm okay with. I like the side port. I don't feel as fat either. I feel really fat and uncomfortable when I'm doing the show, basically, I feel naked, and it's a comfort level with me. Like, I like radio because I feel it's more personable, and you get to have a conversation, and you get to use your mind. With video, it's not so much, and you lack that whole personality of the only thing I get to do is use my hands more, like Bernie Sanders, which I love for people to see on the YouTubes. I love that. That is awesome. The thing I don't like is the rest of it that comes with it, because I have a face for radio. Let's just face it. I have a face for radio. You can find me on FY Nation on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. Find me on FY Nation or FY Live on Facebook. Subscribe to the channel. We have like 700 subscribers on Facebook and 40 on. We need 1,000 subscribers. So I need you to tell your friends. we have the app now. The app needs downloads. The app is awesome. So let me tell you what we have right now. FY Nation has an app. FY Nation has the ability for you to go download the app, and later today we'll have the video access to the app, into the app later today. It's not there yet because I didn't get to it because I was not feeling well this weekend, and unfortunately, as you can see, I have a bad back. And that shit they sell on Fox News does not work for my back. Which it did, but it doesn't. So I have to do things in certain amounts of time to bring you the show. And I want to bring you a good show, and I want to bring you, like, I have certain things placed where I want you to see them for the show. Like my Trade Center picture, my World Trade Center picture is pictured right behind me. And I think that we can have patriotism without being nationalistic. I have my little doll that my girlfriend gave me that is cheering me on above and looking over and making sure I'm not an asshole on the air. So I have that, and then behind on the other view, I have my TV, which we're going to use some of at some point. We're going to get that hooked up. The big screen monitor, which controls everything that you can see right now, and then my American flags. Again, you could be also my dog who died is looking and watching over me, which is always a good thing because she always needs to be in the shot, dead or alive. And that didn't sound too great, but there's that. So this is woke radio. I like that. Woke talk radio. We're all woke here. We believe in telling the truth and being supportive of each other, being equal without tearing people apart. Like Don Jr., like, we're going to talk about the speeches and CPAC and Ukraine and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I want to mention this, even though we'll probably get to it tomorrow, because I don't have the audio clips, and I want to play the audio clips with this. But Don Jr. went on this unhinged. He did two things. He talked about his dad's balls, which I would never want my kid talking about my balls. Like, I have a daughter, and I would hope that she was never in a place where she felt comfortable enough to talk about my balls. As a parent, that is not something you should envision your child ever doing, talking about your balls. I'm just saying, you shouldn't do that. But he was apparently comfortable at CPAC talking about his father's big balls. Because they can't be tiny, they have to be really, really big. So there's that. Then we had, at CPAC, Donald Trump praising Putin again, calling him smart. I don't know about you, but if you have to activate a nuclear arsenal because you can't win Ukraine, you're not that smart. Your intelligence is not that intelligent. And when Zelensky is, by the way, Coca-Cola does not sponsor this show. I wish they did, though, as much as I drink of it. Yeah, my caffeine fix. And I am getting Neo water. For those who are interested, I'm going to be drinking more water for the show and my health. But join me in the chat room, hashtag FYLive. You can also check out the show live on the YouTubes at FY Nation. You could also check out FY Live on Facebook and hashtag FY Live and FYNation.com app, FY Nation Radio Player app. But yeah, I would not want to be talking about somebody's balls. Like, I find the whole thing disturbing. Talking about somebody's parental unit's balls. Like, there's a level of, just bad shit going on when you're positively talking about your parents' balls. I mean, it's just sad that they had to do that. And I'm not going to concentrate on Donald Trump's balls any more than I have to, because who really wants to do that with the visualization of radio, or in our case, YouTube or Facebook? You don't want to concentrate on the orange man's balls. So what we will concentrate on is CPAC and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Marjorie Tate Traitor Greene and My Pillow going just batshit crazy and getting a free pass. Like, they wonder why we treat them as outlanders and outliers, and why they're just wrong for America. They wonder, like, why do you treat me this way? Why don't you buy my shitty pillows? Why are you so mean to me? And they act a fool. And Marjorie Taylor Greene went and spoke to Nick Fuentes' group, and we're going to have another story where Nick Fuentes was verified by Trump's Truth Social. So they'll just verify anyone. I wonder if they'll verify me. Will they verify me? We don't know. Let's go on and find out. We'll do that later today. I did, full disclosure, I did, when I still had my iPhone, I did ask for early release of the app, but I never checked up on it because lazy. And really, do I want that poison on my phone? Not really. I don't want the poison on my phone. So there's that. Tweet me at hashtag FYLive. Give me a call at FY Nation. The show is about you, by the way. I'm just here for the fun and frivolity. The show is a call-in show, the Nosey Liberal, because I'm a nosy bastard, and I want to know what's going on in the news and help bring you to a point where you know what's going on in the news. The show is not just about me. That being said, we are live, and we are a morning show, and I'm not awake, which is weird considering we're a morning show. I'm just not awake. I've been awake, but I'm not awake. There's a difference. That being said, we're going to the first story, and just bear with me as I bring this up here. And this story here, Trump's Truth Social verifies white nationalist Nick Fuentes' account. Okay? This is from the Daily Beast, and this is the story, and it's a good lengthy story. This is not a surprising thing that Trump's Truth Social did what they did. It shouldn't surprise anyone. It shouldn't be like, oh my God, this is a surprising thing. But it's controversial and it should be controversial that they're okay with the white nationalists being on their platform. But they're okay with that shit. And the conference hosted Marjorie Taylor Greene, Traitor Greene, in Florida on Friday, and Fuentes has not only been banned on mainstream social media platforms such as Twitter, but also by conservative sites like Getter. But Truth Social is totally cool with Nick Fuentes. By allowing people like me and Nick Fuentes on here, Truth Social has already shown more integrity than Getter or Parler. Hopefully it stays that way. At Bake Alaska, an account that seems to belong to a far-right media influencer. And it's Antonym Joseph Tim Gannett, who was charged for his involvement in the January 6th riots, because, why not? Trump's Truth Social is simultaneously seeking legitimacy by trying to get ESPN, the NFL, all these groups, all these mainstream groups to come on. But yet they'll be okay with the likes of Nick Fuentes on the group. Trump Media and Technology Group didn't immediately turn to comment to the Daily Beast, because why would they give a comment back? People logging on to Russia's state-owned agency TASS to get Kremlin's version of the events in Ukraine got a shock on Monday. Instead of the latest headlines from Kremlin, the site showed an anti-war message that condemned Vladimir Putin for forcing Russian journalists to lie. That's always nice. Another headline from the Daily Beast. We'd like when Russia's state-owned is hacked. RT was hacked. RT was hacked. I wish True Social, going back to True Social, was hacked. But Marjorie Taylor Greene, Trader Green, had this to say at CPAC. She was asked by a mainstream corporate reporter, why did you go to the Nick Fuentes rally? And this is what she had to say.
Is the whole reason this is
All right,
at the airport, but I'm glad to talk to you about this. I do not know Nick Fuentes. I've never heard him speak. I've never seen a video. I don't know what his views are, so I'm not aligned with anything that may be controversial. What I can tell you is I went to his event last night to address his very large following, because that is it's a very young following, and it's a generation I'm extremely concerned about.
It's a white nationalist.
Excuse me a minute. I'll tell you is it's a very young following, and it's a generation I'm extremely concerned about.
It's a white nationalist group.
Excuse me a minute. I'll tell you exactly why I went. I went to talk to them about America First policies, and I talked to them about what's important for our country going forward. Now, in regards to Russia, Putin is a murderer, and he should have never invaded Ukraine. What he is doing is completely wrong. I stand with our NATO member allies, and I'm completely against this war.
It's a white nationalist
Excuse
group.
me, I'm going to finish. Everything that he's doing is wrong. He's killing people over and over. So I am staunchly against it, and I'm staunchly against Vladimir Putin, his invasion of Ukraine. Another thing that's extremely important for me to say is the whole reason this is happening is because Joe Biden is a weak president. Now America is a weak country, and our entire world is falling apart, and we're seeing war erupt, which did not happen under President Trump because we had peace through strength. So this is something that we've got to really focus on. I'm appalled at our country for putting America last this way, making us depend on China, Russia, and foreign countries for our critical supplies and our energy.
You endorse Nick
Excuse me.
So she is being argumentative. She's trying to pull a Trump, right? And not doing it very well. She's excuse me, and it's not because she's a woman. She just has no true force of nature. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene does not have like there are people who have force of nature, like Donald Trump Jr. for what he's worth has a force of nature. It's a hideous one, but he has a force of nature. You know, so you expect that from him. You expect him to be a certain way, and act and behave a certain way, and you're going to get that from Donald Trump. And I apologize for the audio issues on the video stream. Had to fix everything while we were live, but with the computer and technology that I have now, I'm actually able to do that. You see, I'm able to fix things live, which I was never able to do before. I'm actually able to fix shit live. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is on full frontal denial of I never knew nothing about nothing when it comes to this guy. And not a force of nature and not very diplomatic. She comes off a whiny bitch. And here's another one who comes off a whiny bitch. And nothing to do with gender, just because they come off a whiny bitch. Here is my appeal guy coming off a whiny bitch and just blowing it out of his ass. And again, Nick Fuentes is a white supremacist, and they're okay with that. And this is my appeal guy getting asked a question and going on batshit crazy mode. And my appeal guy, the difference between Michael Lindell is actually charismatic. Or he wouldn't be able to sell as many pillows that are shit as he is. He's an actual charismatic guy. The problem, and he's a force of nature. The problem is, it's like fart in the wind. It stinks. That's my pillow guy's problem. So here's my pillow guy going after the reporter at the CPAC conference. This is just fascinating. It's just really an insight into the ridiculousness. When they're in full control of their faculties and everything that's going around in their narrative, they come across as almost rational human beings. But when they do shit like this, you have batshit crazy time, and here's my agenda.
Traitor, CBS, Robert. Traitor, CBS, Robert Kowski is a traitor, United States of America. No, you're a traitor. This is old news. You care about where you protect the company and you attack all my people. You're a traitor to our country. You're a disgusting
And my pillow guy just attacks him as a traitor because he's asking tough questions. They don't like. God forbid you get asked tough questions. Traitor. Really? Yeah, fool. This is what you got. Like, I don't think my pillow guy could do a show like this where he had to control everything, because I don't think he has the ability to be able to deal with issues like this. Just look at his face. He's angry. He's bitter.
CBS, you're one step above Fox doesn't talking off. That's what you guys are. He's
one step above Fox. Now he's still on Fox News, by the way, but he's insulting Fox News.
About the picture of the White House a year ago. You're disgusting. You're disgusting. You're disgusting. You're disgusting.
And the reporters, for their part, are trying to like ask legitimate questions and trying to like be legitimate reporters in this situation that they dumpster dived into. They've been I'm packed of straight dumpster dive into bullshit political talk, and they're in it. And this is what they got to deal with, these reporters. I'm surprised no one got shot over the weekend in Florida, because this is a stand your ground state. And that's how they handle things there in Florida. But Marjorie Trader Green and my pillow guy, Mike Lindell, both people are utterly incapable of handling a situation that could be done in a realistic fashion, right? They are totally incapable of talking to someone and dealing with them on a transactional level. So they have to scream and shout over them. They have to have this little song and dance routine. They gotta look pathetic. And they gotta come across pathetic. Now, look, I have issues with my looks. I have issues with my body. I'm the Nosey Liberal. And I do what I can to deal with it. But I'm never gonna come, like, if a conservative came on and attacked me, right? This is non-binary creature that I am. If a conservative came on and attacked me, I would never go after them in the way these right-wingers just go. I would try to have a civil conversation. Like you want to have a conversation that is rational and brings about debate. These people on CPAC don't want to do that. They want to have a shouting match. Again, look at his face. He's angry. He's clearly just undignified. And he can't handle himself in this type of situation. I can only imagine what his board meetings are like when somebody disagrees with him in the board. Right? I could, like, you disagree with me? You're a traitor. Gotta be all jumpy about it and freak out and have this whole animalistic thing. So, Truth Social is okay with people like these. Marjorie Trader Green and Truth Social is okay with our friend, what's his face? Mike Lindell and Nick Fuentes. What's his face? There we go. And we have other video clips. I mean, we've got a 3-hour show, but and I apologize for the initial. And I hope I'm not getting a double. Let's see. Trying not to give you double on the audio there. Let's try not to do that. There we go. I fixed the audio. So if I was giving you double on the audio, my apologies. The video I'm still trying to work out. I'm trying to get it all working. This isn't a fair to remember. So we're gonna improve every day as we do this show, and by the minute we'll improve, because we're doing this ourselves. We're doing this all ourselves. And I don't have like Laura Ingraham would have a executive producer to blame for all the mistakes. I don't have that person. Like, I don't have the executive producer to blame. I have to blame myself when mistakes happen. But as I catch them, as I catch mistakes and we see mistakes that happen, we will deal with them on the show, on the Nosey Liberal. And hopefully the audio will stay perfect and close to perfect, and the video will get better. And we're going to take and I made this graphic. I want to know what you guys think about the graphic. Woke Talk Radio with a Statue of Liberty. I love this graphic because it pisses the right wing off. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get to some more video and other stories. Marjorie Trader Green video and some other stories for you. I just want to get it right. And Donald Trump, just a whole bunch of news. The CPAC straw poll, they had lots and lots of stuff to get to. Woke Talk Radio, the Nosey Liberal, we're live. Thank you for sticking with us through our technical issues that we're fixing in real time on the air. Amazing stuff here today. Amazing. It's amazing how we can do it when we fix it on the air in real time. We'll be right back.
I'm Dr. Anthony Lazowitz, and this is Climate Connections. The small city of Ithaca, New York has big plans for reducing climate change by making changes one house at a time. Luis Aguirre Torres is the city's director of sustainability.
The way we produce energy to heat up our buildings or to heat water or to cook or dry our clothes normally in most places comes from fossil fuels, either natural gas, propane, or fuel oil.
The city wants these fossil fuel burning furnaces, boilers, and appliances replaced by systems that run on electricity. That way they can eventually be powered by clean renewable energy instead. So Ithaca has launched a plan aimed at retrofitting all 6,000 existing houses and buildings across the city by 2030. Property owners will qualify for low or zero interest loans to complete energy efficiency upgrades and convert to electrical systems, such as air source heat pumps. The program is voluntary, but Aguirre Torres hopes that many property owners will choose to participate so the city can meet its ambitious goal. He says half measures will not be sufficient for tackling the climate crisis.
The sense of urgency needs to be shared with everybody, and I believe that's the only way we're going to achieve this.
Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication. To hear more stories like this, visit climateconnections.org.
Hey ho ho, welcome back to the show. We are live and we're talking about CPAC and everything else going on. And I love this story from CPAC. 2024 straw poll. CPAC straw poll, 59%, DeSantis 28%, every other Republican 2% or less. That's right, every other Republican is just in the doghouse. And they suck. And CPAC is like praising Trump all over the place. And you gotta praise Trump, And they're just doing it all over the place, like a puppy all on the rag. Okay, that's not the best visual for the morning. A puppy that is not on the rag is not a good visual. But a puppy that is on pooping everywhere is the best visual for this. A puppy that is literally shitting everywhere is the best visual for Donald Trump. So, John Oliver called Putin a bitch, which he is. And, the right-wing media was like, do you guys have any advice for Joe Biden? What would you do, Donald? Donald. And this is before he went out and made his big "I'm not woke" speech. I'm just Donald Trump, and did his big song and dance. And like, it's very stressful as a commentator to have to deal with these people, but it's worth it because you get shit like this where he basically comes across as a complete and total fucking idiot. And this is beautiful. I got this from Aaron Rupart, and it's just absolutely... This signifies everything that we're right about on the left. About how the right wing does not have a clue. And how the right wing is just completely wrong. And shouldn't be infatuated with the guy. And this is Trump being asked, can you give us some advice for Joe Biden? What would you do? And this is Trump. This is Donald Trump.
To say that, but
What should be done? If you were president right now, the situation is what it is now. It wouldn't have gotten here. What should Joe Biden do?
Well, I think I know exactly what should be done. Number one, we shouldn't be here. But on the assumption that we're here, it's a big assumption, but it's happened. There are things that he should do. I would rather not tell him under this forum. I don't think it's appropriate. There are things he could do, and I think would end it pretty quickly. But remember this: we are the greatest nuclear power. When I was in office, I had it rebuilt, modernized, and also rebuilt our military. Also started Space Force, which has a lot to do with what we're talking about. But we're the greatest nuclear power. But Russia is an almost equal nuclear power. And China is 5 years behind, but they have very substantial nuclear power. We all have to be very careful. We're going to have to leave it there. Thank you all.
We have to be very careful. I'm not gonna tell you. I'm not gonna give you any advice on what to say or do. This is the guy that CPAC has said 59%. 59% of CPAC people are like, Donald Trump is my guy for president of the United States. Donald Trump basically said he's running again for president of the United States. The grifter is going to keep on grifting in the United States. And this is what we have. The grifter is like, I'm not going to give you any information. I'm not even going to tell you what to do. It's not the forum. Then what is the fucking forum? Are you going to call Joe? I'm going to give Joe Biden a call and give him my advice because I feel that it's necessary as former president that he hear what I have to say. Is that ever going to happen? No. That's not going to fucking happen. What's going to happen is the grifter is going to grift and he's going to talk shit about Biden. And he's not going to offer any real solutions because they have no real solutions. This is a party without a platform. The Republican Party has no real solutions. There's nothing to say that we can go from here to here and get there. The Conservative Party is rudderless. And Donald Trump is the rudder? Are you fucking... Again, let's watch this again and listen to this again. What can you do, Mr. Trump? The question is asked.
What should Joe Biden do?
Well, I think I know exactly what should. Number one, we shouldn't be here. But on the assumption that we're here, that's a big assumption. But there are things that he should do. I would rather not tell him under this forum. I don't think it's appropriate.
I would rather not tell him under this forum. Translation. Trump Translation Network on the Nosey Liberal. I don't fucking have a clue. Donald Trump does not have a clue on what to say. Oh, I'm gonna nuke Vladimir. We have nuclear weapons. I'm gonna nuke Vladimir Putin? Really? And then which U.S. city you'll get nuked next, you fucking stew-nod? Don't worry, all the good cities where Kristi Noem is won't get nuked. But all the bad cities that I don't like LA and New York and Detroit, they'll get nuked. And then we don't have to worry about voter registration. Or voter fraud. It's all fine. Fucking animal. He's an animal. He's a horrible human being. Donald Trump. I get agita covering him, and he's basically announced he's going to run for president. Fucking DeSantis doesn't have a chance in hell. He's not going to get primaried. DeSantis is not going to primary Donald Trump. DeSantis is a coward. DeSantis is a coward. He's not going to primary Donald Trump. So what's going to happen is you're going to have Donald Trump walking around, waltzing around like a fucking genius to the stupid people in the Republican Party. And he's going to waltz right into the White House because the Democratic Party does not have their shit together. And this scares me, and this terrifies you. And terrifies me, it should terrify you. You should be terrified at the prospect that we have another time up with Donald Trump as president of the United States. This time, I don't think he's going to let it go. I don't think he will let it go. He likes executive privilege too much. He likes his power too much. He's not going to let it go this time. He's not going to make that mistake. So Americans have to rise up and be strong and go against this. It's not just a TikTok thing. It's not just because it's cool to do. But CPAC has said, here we go, let's get the article up. Straw poll, 59%, 28% DeSantis. Anybody else in the Republican Party got 2% or less. Anybody else got 2% or less in the Republican Party. So here we have the proof in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding that Donald Trump is a menace. Is an awful human being. And he's got 59%. And further proof, this is what he had to say. More of his news conference here. Let me just get the right piece here. My apologies. See, I love it. It's the setup. I can fix it while I'm doing everything. So he was asked in this piece, and we'll get back to Marjorie Taylor Greene because this goes back to Donald Trump. So we're kind of a little all over the place today. My apologies on that. But it all comes together in one big bowl of soup. I promise you. I promise you it all comes together. But Marjorie Taylor Greene basically is not so. But Donald Trump is worse because he has everything to lose. And here's Donald Trump. Zelensky is this brave man who was a comedian, and many people didn't give him the right. Even Putin thought, this guy is Zelensky. What is he? He's a nothing. It's like me if I became president of the United States. Nobody would take me seriously. Nobody takes him seriously. Yet here we have a hero in Ukraine, and Donald Trump has asked, how would you handle this? And we already know, by the way. We already know. Donald Trump would say he has bone spurs. And Donald Trump would say he can't fight because he has health issues. We already know the answer to the question, but the media, because they don't have an original thought in their head, ask them anyway, what would you do if you were in this situation, President Trump? How would you handle it, Mr. President? How would you do it?
President, would you take up arms like Zelensky?
Well, you never know about bravery. Some people think they're brave and they're not brave, and other people don't think of themselves as brave, and they step up. You never know until you get tested.
You never know about bravery. You never know until you get tested. He got tested in Vietnam, and he had fucking bone spurs. I know about bravery. He got tested, and he had bone spurs. He is not a brave man. He's a fucking coward. Donald Trump. Fuck his speeches. Fuck his 58% approval rating. Fuck all that. He is a coward. And anybody who thinks otherwise is a moron. There's not a brave bone in Donald Trump's body. That's why he's so uncomfortable with the question. He can't, like, honestly say, yeah, I'd do that. I'd go do that. I'd go fight. I'd go after him. Because he's a fucking coward. Like, if I was put into that position, I'd be a coward too. I don't know that I'd shoot myself with my own weapon accidentally because I don't know how to operate a gun. But see, I know this about myself, so I could say that. Donald Trump can't say that about himself because he knows it, but he has to have this aura of superhero. And his aura of superhero gets in the way of saying that. And so he has to, well, there are brave people and then there aren't brave people and then some people are brave and lock her up. Can we talk about lock her up? I want to lock Hillary up. Can we do that? This is the Donald Trump, the guy who has 58% with CPAC. This is who we're talking about. Who's going to, if Joe Biden doesn't get his shit together with the Democratic Party, is going to get rolled over by this disaster. And this is why FY Nation is on the air. To prevent a disaster. This is why we have a morning show. Because other shows, like Morning Joe and everything else, are going to trot into war. And we're going to have guests who aren't going to do that. We're going to have callers who aren't going to do that. If you want to call in at FY Nation via Skype, you can call in. Hashtag FY Live if you want to tweet me. The live feeds, we're going to get where we read the tweets and the YouTubes. Follow me on Twitter and on Skype and on YouTube. YouTube, please subscribe to our YouTube page if you haven't already. It's a quick subscribe. You get to see my ugly mug. I have a face for radio. And I'm slightly more talented. I will never talk about my father's balls. I can guarantee you that. In any context. I'm not that comfortable with you. Apparently Donald Trump Jr., again, back to what we originally were talking about in the first hour, is so comfortable with his audience at CPAC, he can talk about his father's balls. I am not that comfortable. I don't have that comfort level with my audience or with you or any of that to be able to say, yeah, let's talk about my daddy's balls. Now you could say, Tom, you're doing it right now. No, I am not. I am talking about the thing that will never, ever, ever, ever in a million years happen on this show. I will never go into that subject. Certain things you do not talk about on air, on the Nosey Liberal. Certain things. It's just no-go zones. And I'm still slightly uncomfortable being in the video sphere, but I love the technology upgrade we got here at FYNation.com. I was able to fix things right on the air. I fixed problems right on the air. I've never been able to do that before. I've never once been able to do that before. And I'm so thrilled. I know you can't see it on my face. And I need to shave again. I look like a fucking British bulldog. There's that. But I don't need to shave like Donald Trump Jr. does. Oh my God. If anybody needs a shave, it's him. Jesus Christ. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to go into the top of the hour, our second hour, and hopefully less mistakes and missteps, more CPAC stuff, more news. You know, it's a shitstorm out there, and somebody has to help you through it, and I'm going to help you through it. It's really that simple. And it is what it is. I like the side angle. I hope you do too. I like my little my little thing behind me that my girlfriend got me, it is so awesome. It's a reminder of her in every episode that I do of the show. Because we met doing Some Say. When I was doing the Some Say show. That's how we met. She was a listener. So, there's that. We'll be back. Listen on YouTube, FYNation.com, anywhere. Spotify. We're everywhere. We're like a wicked cool stalker. Although our stalkers cool? No, they're not. So stop that, Tom. We'll be right back. You're listening to the Nosey Liberal.
You're listening to Pearl Bailey from 1946, and you're on the Soundbeat.
Who it was wrote it, or by whose pen it was signed.
Pearl Bailey made her Broadway debut that year, performing It's a Woman's Prerogative in St. Louis Woman. Though audiences weren't enamored of the play, her performance marked the beginning of a decades-long love affair between Bailey and the American public. That special time together would include a Tony Award for Hello, Dolly, to later pop culture staples like The Muppet Show, The Love Boat, and Hollywood Squares.
Kneel at that altar, it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind.
Old softy Richard Nixon even made it all official in 1970, proclaiming Bailey Ambassador of Love. The position was rumored to pay 80,000 hugs annually with a guaranteed pension of half that amount. Nixon even accompanied Bailey on the piano. Turns out he was an amateur composer. We're not fooling. Check out a video of his first concerto right now at soundbeat.org. Soundbeat is produced at the Belfer Audio Archive, Syracuse University Library. I'm Brett Barry.
I'm Rick Smith, and this is Labor History in 2. On this day in labor history, the year was 1942. That was the day that Sue Cowan Williams filed a lawsuit for equal pay for black teachers in Little Rock, Arkansas. 86 black teachers worked in the city's segregated school system. They were all members of the Little Rock Classroom Teachers Association. In 1941, the teachers formed a salary adjustment committee to look into pay discrimination. What they found there was a wide gap between black and white salaries. The average white elementary school teacher made $526 a year, while the black teacher earned only $321. White high school teachers brought home $856 a year, while black teachers only made $567. Backed with this research, the committee presented a petition to the school board demanding an end to pay discrimination. The board tabled the petition, and that summer passed another round of unequal pay raises. The teachers then approached the NAACP and asked them to handle their case. Thurgood Marshall agreed to take up the lawsuit. Marshall would go on to become the first black U.S. Supreme Court justice. Sue Cowan Williams, the head of the English department at Dunbar High School, was selected as the plaintiff for the case. The teachers lost their lawsuit and then won on appeal, but Williams paid a price for her involvement. The next school year, the school district did not renew her contract. She was finally rehired to teach at Dunbar a decade later. But first, the school's superintendent called Williams to ask her if she had, quote, learned her lesson. It was a lesson that many workers have learned, that there is often a high personal cost for standing up for justice on the job. Like what you hear? Check out more at laborhistoryin2.com.
Hello, little bit and misstep. Sorry about that. Touch screen is very particular. If you don't touch the screen in the right way, you accidentally do something, and we're learning that here on the Nosey Liberal. When you do everything yourself, this is how it's done. It happens this way, and thank you for everything. For listening, for participating. Participating and watching and listening are the same thing. So if you come in along and do that to the Nosey Liberal and put up with the show, like, I expect the show not to be the greatest show in the world because we did not have our bells and whistles all in the right place, and I'm okay with that. This is a test run. This show. This is episode 1A. Episode 1B will be tomorrow, when we really get into it and go gangbusters into it. March 2nd, we have the amazing Rick Smith on the show. The amazing Rick Smith. We're going to talk about labor. We're going to talk about what the Democratic Party needs to do to win. We're going to talk about how to defeat the Republican Party. We're going to talk about how to defeat conservative talk radio by being, oh my God, woke. I like, woke talk radio is like a thing for me now, because one, it pisses off the left a little, pisses off the right a little, pisses off everybody, because how can you be woke, Tom? I'll tell you how. You admit to things that exist. It's really simple. It's not anything difficult. You admit to things that exist and move on with your life. And you can be woke. And it's very easy to be woke. So there's that. I think I have my camera that I'm using, main camera that I'm using, is on the computer itself. And the computer itself, I think, is too high for everything right now. And I am not totally comfortable with it. So we're going to work on that. So you may see things differently tomorrow for the show. Just a little warning for those watching. Again, baby steps with this. This is a process that we're going through to make the show tolerable for people who watch and tolerable for people who listen. And tolerable for me to do, because frankly, if I'm not into doing it, why the fuck would I be here for 3 hours a day? So we're in hour 3. Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene some more. So she was in a panel and they were discussing shit, and they brought up the drama that is Hillary Clinton, because they can't let her go. And this is what was said. They just can't. This is a continual thing. They just can't stop themselves. So there's that. There's Marjorie Taylor Greene.
We gotta hold Democrats accountable, everybody, right? Fire Fauci. We've got to investigate Hillary Clinton's campaign.
Yeah.
Lock her up. Lock and roll up.
Lock her up,
Lock her up, they say. Lock her up. And there was more to that, but it didn't quite play the way I wanted to. But lock her up? Really? Somebody... It's become a convenient way to not have a discussion. Fire Fauci. Why do you want to fire Fauci? Donald Trump should be praising Fauci for helping save as many people as he did with the steps that he took during the pandemic. There should be praise on the left and the right for Dr. Fauci. Instead, he's getting death threats because of the likes of Marjorie Taylor Greene and the People's Truckers Army, I guess, or whatever the fuck they are now. These people cannot handle the government coming in and saying, you know, maybe don't do it this way. They can't handle that. So what they do is they screw people into this limited thinking, this limited mobility thinking, and they get their audience fired up, and there's no real there. Like this Nebraskan guy running for, I don't even know his name. This Nebraska guy running for governor. We're gonna talk about. We're gonna talk about him. So let's talk about him. He's running for governor, and he's speaking, and he believes in the peaceful protests of the truckers. You don't actually know what the truckers stand for. It's anti-vaccine, anti-mandate, anti-yada, yada, yada. They're anti-everything, right? They're against stuff. They're not into you as an American. So here he is, talking about the truckers and what he has. Apparently, you have fever dreams on the Republican side, and he had a fever dream that
I've got to say that I had a vision.
He had a vision
of a peaceful truckers protest. Wait a minute. The message yet to come. Surrounding Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden. Would that need to stand up? Would that not be exciting?
The audience eats this shit up. Listen. The audience at CPAC eats this shit up. They don't give a shit about. They don't want a peaceful protest. They want armed militants who are willing to do damage to these people. That's what they're clapping for. They don't want. He had to reiterate, Charles, I guess is his name, who really gives a shit. Charles had to reiterate, peaceful. I want it to be peaceful. Don't forget. It has to be peaceful. He had to keep reiterating that it had to be peaceful. It had to be something that was peaceful. Because otherwise, you get rightly told on the right that you're a dick for inciting violence. But, I don't know. Truckers surrounding the president of I think the Secret Service would have a problem with that on multiple levels. Like, it's just me. I think the Secret Service would not be happy with his fever dream or his vision. At least he didn't say it was a vision from God. He took a step back and was not predicting a vision from God, as they do on the right. Where this is militant talk. Yeah, regardless of how many times you say something is peaceful, this is how people who are militant talk. You should be able to have a discussion with Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or Kamala Harris without having to drive your big rig down to Washington, D.C. to do it. You should be able to do that, right? You should be able to have a legitimate discussion with them. But instead, what we are given is, well, I had a vision of them being surrounded. And what does all that connotate? Someone please help me out here. What does all that connotate? It scares me. And I'm sure Joe Biden and Kamala Harris already get death threats by people who think they're being patriotic. I'm sure they already get death threats. And I'm sure that they already are dealing with a right wing that is batshit crazy on multiple levels. By the way, you can join me in the chat room at FYNation.com at any time. And you could download our app, the FY Nation app. There's a little QR code at the very bottom of the page on FYNation.com. Go to the very bottom of the page of FYNation.com and download the FYNation.com app. Available for Android and iPhones. And unlike True Social, our app works. And no visions from God prevailed onto the app. I never had a vision from God about the app. There was never, God told me to make, no. God and I don't have a talking relationship. I know my mother would probably beg to disagree, but I get very uncomfortable when people tell me, Tom, you need to have a discussion with God, a talk with God. Really? Do I? Do I have to have a discussion with God? An entity that may or may not exist. What would that entail? Let's sit down for a minute. An entity, let's just say for a moment that God exists. What would a discussion with God entail? Well, Jesus, how are you doing? How's that stopping poverty going for you? When you have people like Elon Musk and people like Jeff Bezos, the richest people in the world, and Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, how's that going for you? How would you have that conversation with Jesus? Like, I'm really curious. As a nosy liberal, do you have a conversation? I mean, I'm all for the power of prayer and people manifesting good thoughts, and I've asked for people to pray for me because I believe that we can all be self-healing entities spiritually. But these same people who want to come at me and tell me that I, as a non-binary person, am mentally defective, are all having conversations with some being that may or may not exist. And their mental faculties are all with it? Not for nothing. I'll go with the person who believes they're transgender over the person that's talking to a cloud in the sky. I will go with their mental faculties. Because, frankly, the cloud in the sky gives a lot of permission for things that shouldn't be given permission for. And justification for things that shouldn't be permission for. Like hatred of the person who's transgender or gay. That God that we talk about allows these things. And this should bother you. Christians. I consider myself a Christian. This should bother you. That your God, our God, my God, the God that we pray to, is used by people to decry violence on other people. And then I go back to whether or not Zelensky is a hero, and if I would be such a person. No. I would not. I would be cowering. I would be waiting for somebody else to save me. I'm not that type of person. Donald Trump is right about one thing when he talks about whether or not you are personal strength or not. He's right about one thing. You don't know it until you're in the moment. But here's the thing about that too. You have a glimmer of knowing your own self. And I know my own self. There have been situations that I have already been in where Thomas Reynolds has taken the cowardly way out. I do more audio than video because I do not like how I look. I am cowardly when it comes to the presentation of how I look. This is a real adjustment for me. This is something that I have to deal on a level that is huge. Huge because of things that I lack. And I have to feel good about doing the show for you. And you have a personal introspective. And I doubt that a man who has to have a dialogue, as Donald Trump does, about whether or not you know bravery and how you know bravery and this is about bravery and that's about bravery and come across in such a way that is just it's ridiculous. And that's why I personally have a problem with him, because he can't do that. Like, you know, in the long run how you're going to handle a crisis. Like, I have been brave in certain issues where I have gotten out of automobile accidents because I acted in what some would say is an irrational manner at the time of the automobile accident. Like, I made myself do something that ordinary people would have had the opposite effect on. Like, I went too fast where I had sped up the vehicle when most people would say slow the brakes down and get out of the way. But I felt that at the time when I was speeding up the vehicle, the only way to save me and my family from literally a car that was coming over the median into the highway into me. This is what was happening. There was a vehicle that was coming into me. The only way to save everyone was by pumping on the gas and going as fast as I possibly could. The aftermath of that happening was other vehicles got hit. We did not. Other vehicles got hit by the car. I was brave enough to say, fuck this. I want my daughter and my then wife. Well, I don't know that we were married at the time. We weren't together. No, I'm sorry. I want my daughter and my ex to survive this, and I want to survive this. I'm going to go fast as possible. And I did about 90 on the highway. As this car flipped over the median, came towards me, and plowed into other cars that were not so lucky. That did not have time. I saw the car coming. I had time to react to the situation. And I reacted, as Donald Trump talks about, You are given a situation, you choose to do something, and you react because of the situation. That's what I did. That's what Tom Reynolds did at the Nosey Liberal. Right? Now, you could argue, you could make the argument that I took the nosy way out. But what was I supposed to do? Slam on my brakes and let another vehicle hit me? And then get hit by the oncoming vehicle? Was I supposed to do that? What was I supposed to do in that situation? So you pick your battles, right? And Zelensky, the Ukrainian president, has told the U.S. defiantly, I don't need no ride. This article from the Huffington Post. Ukraine Zelensky rejects U.S. evacuation offer. I need ammunition, not a ride. The fight is here. I need ammunition, not a ride, Zelensky said, according to the Ukrainian embassy in the UK. This is presidential. This is Washingtonian. This is leadership. Zelensky, for all his, I don't know his politics. I don't care to know. But this is a guy who is facing death from Vladimir Putin. And Zelensky is facing an oncoming car, and he's putting on the gas, and he's speeding the gas, and he's saying, I'm going to go against it, and I'm going to go against Vladimir Putin, and I'm going to go against the tide, and I'm going to say, this is what I need now to fight. Herr Führer, Donald Trump, would never do such a thing. That's why he went on the meandering conversation about, well, some people do this and some people do that, and you really don't know bravery until you're put in the situation. While that statement is, in fact, a true statement, you do not know yourself until you're put in that situation. You know yourself enough to know what you're made of. And you have past experiences to know and get yourself set up. Like, and you could say to Donald, I know your past experience. When the U.S. called you to war, you had bone spurs. You did not fight, and you did not go after the enemy the way Zelensky did. You took the coward's way out. Because you are indeed a coward. You sped up your vehicle and let other people get hit. But see, I know that about myself when it comes to that issue. I'm a coward. I'm not screaming at the top of my lungs, lock them up. Because I know people who have been to jail, and I know what jail is like, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. I do ask the question, why aren't the January 6th protesters getting legitimate prison sentences, and not 60 days, like Jenna Ryan? Why is she not being treated like a domestic terrorist? I do ask that question. I think that's a valid question to ask. I think that's a valid question to ask. Zelensky is the hero in this story. He is the person who really knew exactly what to do in a crisis and how to handle a crisis. And irregardless of his politics, you have to stand up to the bully. And the bully is that Vladimir Putin. And let Vladimir Putin do what he's going to do. Let him have the International Space Station fall from the sky. Let him unleash nuclear winter upon us. Let Vladimir Putin do what he wants to do. Don't be afraid of it. Don't cower in fear. Let them do it. Because in the end of what happens, we will be more the stronger. We came out stronger in World War II when we defeated the Nazis. We will come out stronger in World War III when we defeat the fascist regime. I'm not a warmonger by any means. I'm not going to bring people on the air who think that we need to go into war. And yeah, look, I think the most powerful people in the room are the people who say, no, we need to still fight for peace. The most powerful people in the room are the people who are willing to sit there and say, what is a way that we can get a peaceful measure of diplomatic means out there? Those are the most powerful people in the room. The most cowardly people in the room are the people who want to drop the bombs on you. Who want to decimate families and go after things that they have no business going after. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
I'm Dr. Anthony Lizowitz, and this is Climate Connections. The small city of Ithaca, New York has big plans for reducing climate change by making changes one house at a time. Luis Aguiar Torres is the city's director of sustainability.
The way we produce energy to heat up our buildings or to heat water or to cook or dry our clothes normally in most places comes from fossil fuels, either natural gas, propane, or fuel oil.
The city wants these fossil fuel burning furnaces, boilers, and appliances replaced by systems that run on electricity. That way they can eventually be powered by clean renewable energy instead. So Ithaca has launched a plan aimed at retrofitting all 6,000 existing houses and buildings across the city by 2030. Property owners will qualify for low or zero interest loans to complete energy efficiency upgrades and convert to electrical systems, such as air source heat pumps. The program is voluntary, but Aguiar Torres hopes that many property owners will choose to participate so the city can meet its ambitious goal. He says half measures will not be sufficient for tackling the climate crisis.
The sense of urgency needs to be shared with everybody, and I believe that's the only way we're going to achieve this.
Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication. To hear more stories like this, visit climateconnections.org.
We're live. We are at the 10:30 mark of the show, and we are live, and we are doing it woke talk radio, just to piss off everybody on the left and the right, because that's what I do here. I like to have everybody a little angry at the right things, and I'm going to go into some agreement with the Free Beacon. Not for the reason that they agree with Mitt Romney. But when you're right, you're right. And the Free Beacon had this article revisiting media outrage when Romney called Russia our greatest foe. And Mitt Romney was correct in his assessment of Russia. Let me repeat that for those in the back. Mitt Romney was correct in our assessment of Russia, or his assessment of Russia, when he talked about Russia being the greatest foe when it came to the debate against Barack Obama. Barack Obama was trying to reset with Russia and trying to have diplomatic means with Russia, so he and the media attacked Mitt Romney for this statement, but Mitt Romney was correct at the time. Mitt Romney wanted to go after Russia because he had the foresight of what was to come with Russia and how they are behaving and how Vladimir Putin is behaving. And I'm not a fan of Mitt Romney by any means. No fan of Mitt Romney. But when you're right, you're right. And you can eventually be right in something you're usually wrong ago. Mitt Romney said they were the number one geopolitical foe of the United States. The Obama campaign continually needled Romney for the remark in the campaign. Obama quipped that the 1980s are calling to ask for the foreign policy back. Well, what did Russia do under Obama? They went and got Crimea, and they did not face any real consequences for it. Because Vladimir Putin felt he had a safe space with President Obama. It's just that simple. Now, do I believe that Mitt Romney would have been somebody who could have gone after Vladimir Putin? No. Because Vladimir Putin sees the United States and people who support the United States as weak, as ineffective. I mean, look at the sanctions now. Look at what's going on now. They all see us as weak. We allowed World Trade Center to be attacked. Not once, twice. We allowed our own federal buildings to be attacked by domestic terrorists. Yes, I say we allowed because we did not do anything in the aftermath of those things to stop it. So we allowed it to continuate and allowed it to perpetuate the situation. And it was misguided to go after Romney at the time. But hindsight is always 20/20. And Washington Free Beacon is now defending Mitt Romney. And it should be defended. He was right. Russia is a geopolitical foe. Not the greatest. I think that's China. I still think China is the greatest political foe. I think that we have a lot of greatest political foes. I think you can't just sustain it to one enemy. Tom Reynolds picked the one that's the greatest political foe. I don't think you can do that. I think you have to say Saudi Arabia. I think you have to say China. I think you have to say Russia. I think you have to say corporate international banking. I think you have to say a lot of things are our number one geopolitical foe. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. You don't have to pick just one. And look, when this all happened, the Obama administration was hoping for a narrative with Russia that didn't happen. And Vladimir Putin got further emboldened. And I blame Obama for Crimea. I blame Republicans for what's happened in Ukraine now. I don't blame Biden. Because Biden is caught up in a furtherance of what happened. But had Obama been more open-minded to Mitt Romney's suggestion that Vladimir Putin bad, maybe this whole cataclysmic narrative wouldn't have played out under Biden's watch. First Obama's watch, then Biden's watch. And it's easy to say now. And I'm not saying I have an answer for it by any means. I'm not saying I know what to do with it. I've said on this show, short of a bullet to Vladimir Putin's head, we're stuck with the guy. We are stuck with Vladimir Putin. Sort of a bullet being put to his head. But there have to be other ways to deal with this guy. There have to be. And I'm not smart enough to know what they are. I'm not there. But to deny, to just be in a state of denial as the Obama administration was, and Barack Obama was, about Russia and how powerful and how willing they were to neglect their own people for political gain and their own diabolical gain. We are where we are. And you have to admit that. Just as you have to admit that Bill Clinton was responsible for Fox News being a thing, because he allowed the creation of these markets in the TV industry to be as they are now. You have to be honest with the whole story. If you're going to move anywhere forward, you have to be honest about the whole story. Otherwise, you're going to be perpetually stuck. So there's that. So, trying to figure out where I want to go next, and I haven't figured that out yet. We have an hour left of the program. I really I don't want to do more video of Donald Trump speaking. It bores me, but we need to talk about it. It happened. So I guess we'll go into some stuff with it. We're going to take a quick break. It's a matter of being comfortable doing this show, and I wish we had some more calls. I wish we were a little bit more participatory. I need participation. Communication with motivation here, people. So let's work on that. That being said, I don't like the level this monitor camera is. We're going to work on that when the show is over. That being said, we're going to take a longer we're going to take a break. And it's going to be a little longer than usual because I am going to do some personal stuff real quick, and I'm just finding something for the break. As you can see, I love I will say I love being able to do this with this computer now. it is totally awesome that I can just fiddle with the computer while I'm talking to you guys. It's really cool that I can do it this way, and I'm really in love with the new way everything is set up for the computer. And if we're gonna thank anybody, it's my mother. My mother did an amazing thing for me, and she is just a wonderful person. And I'm very lucky to have the mother that I have to be able to help me do things in this wonderful studio in this wonderful way. It's just, I'm lucky. I'm very lucky. So on that note, we're going to take a quick break, about 6 minutes long. Grab a cup of coffee, grab another soda, grab what you need to grab. We're going to do a 3-hour show. This is Laura Flanders coming up next. We'll be right back. You're listening to FYNation.com, the Nosey Liberal. I think we got all our technical issues worked out on the day one. That's always a good thing. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Laura Flanders of The Laura Flanders Show, where I interview the best thinkers and doers of our time. On TV, the show premieres Sundays at 11:30 Eastern on PBS World and at the Laura Flanders Show YouTube channel. You can join my guests and me every week there in the live viewing party, and then catch us all week on public television stations. Prefer to listen? Find us on a radio station near you or subscribe to the free podcast. You'll find listings and ways to subscribe at lauraflanders.org. That's also where you'll receive my regular commentaries. I call them the F word. Here's this week's. Capital, not charity, that's what people need. It's an obvious point, but worth making again and again, and it's one South Bronx native Majora Carter makes well in a new book titled Reclaiming Your Community. You don't have to leave your neighborhood to live in a better one. Carter, who's gone from fighting developers in the Bronx, New York, to becoming one herself, lost her family's home after her parents died when her siblings couldn't agree that the value in their property was much more than they could get from speculators. She lost the home place, but determined to stay in the neighborhood space and became what she calls an urban revitalization specialist. To her, revitalization begins with talent retention and the preservation of local assets in local hands. Government and foundations spend billions keeping poor people poor, she contends, investing in homeless shelters and pharmacies and clinics for treating lifestyle illnesses like diabetes and heart conditions instead of changing the conditions of people's lives and their capacity to change those conditions themselves. What people under pressure actually need, she says, is help to preserve the assets they have and a leg up to give them a fighting chance to make more, especially coming out of a global crisis. It's not as if it hasn't been done before. Indeed, part of what created the racial wealth gap we have now are the actions taken by government after World War II, specifically the GI Bill. When the GI Bill passed with bipartisan support in 1946, it offered free education and low-cost housing loans as well as unemployment support to millions of returning GIs. Millions took advantage, opening up a doorway to the middle class for them and their families. But the 1.2 million returning service people who were African American didn't benefit so much. For them, Southern colleges were entirely barred, education was still beyond reach for many who had to work, and the housing market was redlined, excluding African Americans from the most promising neighborhoods. Financial institutions were ruled by Jim Crow. According to the book When Affirmative Action Was White, in New York and New Jersey, of the 67,000 mortgages that were backed by the GI Bill, only 100 went to people of color. The bill, as it turned out, did more to exacerbate racial disparities than shrink them. But that doesn't mean we couldn't try again and do it right. The fight against COVID-19 has often been equated to a war. It's an apt analogy, at least to the extent that the actions taken in its aftermath will shape the future for years to come. So how about another GI Bill, done right this time? Perhaps adding hazard pay and job security protections for the people whose communities have fought the hardest and suffered the most. It's worth thinking about. In the meantime, you can catch my entire conversation with Majora Carter on public television and community radio stations all week, and go on the Laura Flanders Show channel on YouTube for more. For the station near you and how to subscribe, visit lauraflanders.org. Till the next time, stay kind, stay curious. I'm Laura.
Show. Hi, I'm Tom Reynolds, the Nosey Liberal. Hope you enjoyed that little bit of a clip for you. I did. Yeah, so there's that. Like me, some Laura Flanders. Like Tara Devlin more, but that's a personal choice. And we all have those, don't we? That being said, you can join me in the chat room if you like. Hashtag FILive on the Twitter machine. Getting all the computer stuff loaded up again, because that happened that way. And we're doing a live show. We're doing it live. We're here. We're queer, and that's that. That's how the monkey rolls. Does the monkey roll? I don't know. We'll see. So CPAC. We're talking about CPAC in Ukraine. I saw a report on The Wire. Don't know how much of this is true. But the Palmer report was reporting that the Russian stock market got hacked. I am never in favor of stuff like that, because you're hurting the average person in the Russian economy. And I'm not cool with hurting the average. I want to hurt Putin, right? I want to go after Putin. I'm not cool with hurting the average Russian. So there's that. I'm not a fan of hurting the average Russian. I'd like to go after the grand poobah of all things great and tall, and that is the person going after Ukraine, and that would be I don't know, not the average Russian, but the average Putin. Speaking of Putin, this is Donald Trump talking about his thoughts on Ukraine and what's going on at CPAC and how he ties it all in together. There's always that. Let the fun continue, because this is what he does.
Russian attack on Ukraine is appalling. It's an outrage and an atrocity that should never have been allowed to occur. It never would have occurred. We are praying for the proud people of Ukraine. God bless them all. God bless them all. Thank you. They are indeed brave. As everyone understands, this horrific disaster would never have happened if our election was not rigged, and if I was the president. Very simple. It wouldn't have happened. Under Bush, Russia invaded Georgia. Under Obama, Russia took Crimea. Under Biden, Russia invaded Ukraine. I stand as the only president of the 21st century on whose watch Russia did not invade another country.
So did you get that? Did you get that talking point? I am the great leader here. I am the great winner here. Did you catch that, right? I played the whole thing for you in its entirety. Because he blames the elections. There's no hoax, folks. There's no election fraud. He blames the elections. He tries to not act as if everything leading up to this didn't happen under his watch. Like, Putin thought he had a green light and would have done this had he gotten a second term. He doesn't grasp that. Like, Putin was going to do this irregardless. Putin was going to come and attack the Ukrainian people and Ukraine irregardless of who President Trump wanted to be in the White House. Whether it was President Trump, who President Trump wanted in the White House, or President Biden, who President Trump did not want in the White House. The person going after Ukraine was always going to be Vladimir Putin. Let's get that straight. There was no rigged election. There was no rigged election. He lost. And even if he won, what was he going to do? He doesn't have an answer for Joe Biden on what to do. There's no answer. He thinks that he's this great negotiator. And what did he negotiate with Putin on? I mean, he's basically Reek from Game of Thrones with Putin. Yes, master. Yes, master. He's pathetic. And it would have never happened under my watch. But you don't know that, you dumb fuck. And I bet you $100 that it would have. It didn't matter that Trump was in the White House. And what was Trump going to do if he was president of the United States to stop Vladimir Putin? Show Putin his giant wiener? Is that what was going to happen? I mean, seriously. What was Trump going to do? Not a damn thing. Donald Trump's a fucking coward. Donald Trump didn't have shit to do to show Putin. I mean, the guy praises Putin, for Pete's sake. I have it on audio. But let's go back to this. Let's go back to this audio from Trump. Do you have anything that you can say to Joe Biden? Let's go back. What does he tell Joe Biden?
I know exactly what should be done. Number one, we shouldn't be here. But on the assumption that we're here. It's a big assumption, but it's happened. There are things that he should do. I would rather not tell him under this forum. I don't think it's appropriate to say that. But there are things he could do that would be very strong.
He'd rather not say what could be done. Really? You fucking coward? Just say. Give us your intellectual fortitude on what you would do to stop Vladimir Putin. Unless there's nothing. I believe there's nothing. I don't think there's any there. I don't think Donald Trump has anything that he could tell Joe Biden to do. Because he's a fucking coward. He's intellectually dishonest, and he's a coward. I don't think there's a damn thing that Joe Biden could do differently that Trump would tell him to do better. Listen to that again. I don't think there's a damn thing that Joe Biden could do differently that Donald Trump could do to tell him to do better. I know it's a long-winded statement because it deals with a long-winded douchebag. Sorry, Robin. I'm trying not to say douchebag. I really am. But when you're a douchebag, you're a douchebag. And he's a douchebag. But there's not a damn thing that Joe Biden could do differently. In fact, Joe Biden has been doing everything he possibly can to stop Putin. Joe Biden has been doing everything he can to stop Putin, but instead, we have people like Donald Trump getting in the way and saying, well, if I was president, it wouldn't have... Bullshit. Bullshit. You asshole. Vladimir Putin would have gone into Ukraine had Donald Trump been president. Let me repeat that again for the people in the back. Vladimir Putin again would have gone into the Ukraine, if Donald Trump was president. He was gearing up to it the whole time Donald Trump was president. He was getting ready for the whole thing. Tell me I'm wrong on hashtag FY Live. Tell me I'm wrong. Somebody, please, tell me I'm wrong. At FY Nation, give me a call. Let me know. I want to be told that I'm wrong. I don't believe I'm wrong. But Vlad would totally not give a shit that Donald Trump was president of the United States. And moreover, Donald Trump has no advice whatsoever to give Joe Biden because he's a moron. It's an empty vessel. We'll be right back, coming into hour 3 of the program. The Nosey Liberal.
You're listening to Pearl Bailey from 1946, and you're on the Soundbeat.
Who it was wrote it, or by whose pen it was signed.
Pearl Bailey made her Broadway debut that year, performing It's a Woman's Prerogative in St. Louis Woman. Though audiences weren't enamored of the play, her performance marked the beginning of a decades-long love affair between Bailey and the American public. That special time together would include a Tony Award for Hello, Dolly, to later pop culture staples like The Muppet Show, The Love Boat, and Hollywood Squares.
Kneel at that altar, it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind.
Old softy Richard Nixon even made it all official in 1970, proclaiming Bailey Ambassador of Love. The position was rumored to pay 80,000 hugs annually with a guaranteed pension of half that amount. Nixon even accompanied Bailey on the piano. Turns out he was an amateur composer. We're not fooling. Check out a video of his first concerto right now at soundbeat.org. Soundbeat is produced at the Belfer Audio Archive, Syracuse University Library. I'm Brett Barry.
Welcome to Nosey Liberal, the show with me, Tom Reynolds. I am your host. You can download the FY Nation app with the QR code at the bottom of FYNation.com. Go do it now. You can subscribe to our YouTube. Go do it now. Like our Facebook page. Go do it now. Please, please, please help us grow. We want to grow this network. We want to have an enjoyable call in 3 hours. I don't want the show just to be about me ranting and raving. Although I'm good at it, I don't want it to be just about me ranting and raving. I want callers. I want to discuss relationships. I want to discuss politics. I want to discuss all the things that you can do every Monday through Friday on a call-in show. This is a morning show, goddammit. So I want to have it as participatory as possible for you and me. So get the word out about the Nosey Liberal. We're on Spotify. We're going to be on iTunes this week. Rick Smith is going to be on the show this week on March 2nd. I cannot wait. March 2nd, Rick Smith will be on the show for a half hour. I'm thrilled. Liberal, just amazing progressive activist and union organizer and everything. And I'm so thrilled he's going to come on the program. And we're going to talk to him. And I'm just happy we have technology that works here on FYNation.com for the first time doing the show in 5 years of any show that I have ever done. Every piece of technology that we are using, let me repeat that again. First time in 5 years, every major piece of technology that we are using is brand new. Not used, not refurbished, not given to us because somebody was nice enough to. Everything is brand new. I'm using a laptop that's brand new. I'm using a desktop that's brand new. Everything, even the headset that I'm using is brand new, given to me by my girlfriend for the show. Everything is brand new, and I couldn't be happier. And I'm going to utilize what I'd been given. And let me repeat that again for the audience. I'm going to utilize what I've been given to make FY Nation better and make it the most popular liberal network that we have. You're listening to Nosey Liberal live on FYNation.com, and we got so lucky because I have an amazing mother who wants me to do well in my personal business. She helped the network, and I am thrilled that we have this opportunity to do this now. And I cannot be happier. And I need a haircut. I'm looking at my hair on the video, on the YouTube, and I need a haircut. So there's that. Democracy Now! Is no longer played at this hour. We now do 3 hours up into Tom Hartman's program. 3 hours of talk radio here live at FYNation.com. I'm able to do this because of folks like you. And I am so thrilled that we have working technology to be able to make this happen. And we were able to fix issues that were happening on the air, live, and I was able to fix it while I was doing the show. I didn't have to say, oh my God, I got to stop the show. Remember how many times did we have to do that because something happened? Just last week, we had to stop the show because something had happened. And how many times have we gone and we've come into the show and now we don't have to do that? We have the technology for a radio show and a vlog show on the YouTube to be able to do the show appropriately. So thank you for those who have stuck with us through thick and thin to get us to this point. So we were talking about the Orange Menace, Donald Trump, and how he is just bad for America, and Vladimir Putin would have invaded Ukraine had he been president of the United States. I say again, Vladimir Putin would have invaded Ukraine had he been president of the United States. He was gearing up for it. It was going to happen. It was inevitable. This is what Putin wanted to do. So Putin did it. And it is what it is. That's where we're at. And I need to shave, by the way, for those watching on the video stream, where I'm slightly uncomfortable, but getting there. Need to loosen up a little bit and be more there for you guys. And we'll get there eventually. It'll take time for me to be comfortable in front of the camera, because I'm uncomfortable completely in front of the camera. I can never do porn, thank God. Thank God. There's never going to be a porn tape of me on the internet for any reason. So there's that good news for you today. And some of the story, we'll talk more about Ukraine and stuff, but I want to get to this Trump segment where he's praising Putin at CPAC. They say, oh, I never praised Putin, but you did, dude. You do it again. You keep doing it. Because you like to. Just admit you like to do it. You like to praise Putin. You're okay with praising Putin, and that's what you do. Just admit it. Couldn't you just come clean? I'm surprised he isn't saying, I don't even know who Putin is. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene did earlier with the Nick Fuentes. I don't know who that is. I never met him before. I'm only speaking at his conference because of the young people there. I didn't notice the hoods they were wearing. Fucking dim-witted bulb. So, here we have, and yes, I'm sweary, Donald Trump talking at CPAC. And we'll do Donald Trump tomorrow. Donald Trump Jr. tomorrow. The audio. I'll get that audio tomorrow. And we'll cover that. Because there were some things that he said. And I like having a longer format now to be able to stretch out things that I want to talk about. And I don't need to worry so much about time. Because we get to have a long-form conversation here. And that is a beautiful thing with this show. That we get to have a long-form conversation. So, that being said, here is Donald Trump talking about Vladimir Putin. Because
Indeed, Yesterday, reporters asked me if I thought President Putin was smart. I said, of course he's smart, to which I was greeted with, oh, that's such a terrible thing to say. I'd like to tell that, yes, he's smart. The NATO nation, indeed the world, as he looks over what's happening strategically, with no repercussions or threats whatsoever, they're not so smart. They're looking the opposite of smart. If you take over Ukraine, we're going to sanction you, they say. Sanction. Well, that's a pretty weak statement. Putin is saying, oh, they're going to sanction me. They sanctioned me for the last 25 years. You mean I can take over a whole country and they're going to sanction me? You mean they're not going to blow us to pieces, at least psychologically? The problem is not that Putin is smart, which of course he's smart, but the real problem is that our leaders are dumb.
Our leaders are dumb, Donald Trump says. Our leaders are stupid, Donald Trump said. Donald Trump thinks our leaders are stupid. This is what he said at CPAC. Aid and comfort to the enemy. He's giving aid and comfort to the enemy. He is okay with saying our leaders are stupid. Would he have said Hitler was smart and FDR is stupid? Probably. Probably. Because he is a pig. We're at a time of war. Essentially, we're at a time of war. It's all hands on deck. And this orange menace is okay with trash talking the leadership of this country and of NATO. And look, I'm not a fan of NATO. I think NATO should have kept their promise to Russia and not expanded. Now, you can debate whether or not that promise was made and everything else, but in all accounts, it seems like the promise to not invade or to not expand NATO was something that a U.S. president would say to give comfort to the Russians. And I think that should have been maintained. Look, having Poland and other countries in NATO that and Turkey. Look at Turkey and how authoritarian and totalitarian it is. And look where Poland is going. They're not exactly democracies. And to have them a part of NATO, NATO should be democracy driven. And if you're not going to be a part of if you're not going to be a democracy, you should not be in a democracy driven place. It should be that simple. And you can argue that Ukraine was not necessarily a democracy. Especially when it had Russian backed leaders running Ukraine. The expansion of NATO is a huge cause in the ire of Putin. Now, do I agree with Putin? No. Putin needs to man up. Putin is a little child when it comes to this. He's acting and behaving like a child. He's acting like Donald Trump. I didn't get my way. I'm going to attack. I'm going to go after you until I get my way. I'm going to unleash holy terror on you until I get my way. What the fuck is that? That is acting like a child. That is acting like a child. A child acts like that. An adult diplomatically says, what can we do to resolve this issue? I know you don't like this there, but is there something we can do to make you more comfortable? Is there something we can do to strengthen your resolve? There has to be a better way than this, but apparently no. And then you get all the people on the TV screaming for war. Dare I say, it's better to be a peace activist now than any time in our history. There have been hundreds of Ukrainian deaths. There have been hundreds of Russian deaths. And I bet these Russians who died did not sign up for what they got themselves into. I bet they did not sign up for what they got themselves into. Yet here they are. And here is the situation we're in. And it's sad that we're there. Putin is not smart. No matter how smart Donald Trump thinks Putin is not smart. Putin is a megalomaniac. Putin is a despot. Putin is a dictator. Putin is a fascist. Putin is a thug. Putin is a murderer. One thing Putin is not is smart. Because Putin could have gotten accords after accords after accords and treaties and things signed by just saying, look, I'm going to do this thing. You don't want me to do this thing. Here's the way I won't do this thing. Here's the thing that stopped me from doing this thing. But instead, what does he go, this dumbass goes and does this thing. He goes and invades a country, a sovereign country, and looks exactly how America looked invading Iraq. Like a desperate and pathetic country. They look desperate and pathetic. Just as we did when we invaded Iraq. And they look as if they know not what they're doing. And I fear the troops. I feel bad for the troops because I fear the troops do not know what is going on. I feel like they're just been told some completely different thing and just don't have a clue to what's going on. And we're suffering because of it. We're suffering because one man feels that the band has to get together again, meaning the old Soviet Union. And the band doesn't want to get back together. The band is literally saying, no, I don't want to get together. I didn't like how we played the music. Ukraine and Estonia and all these other countries, Poland, I don't like how we played the music. I don't like that tune anymore. Let's not play that tune. And Russia, specifically Vladimir Putin, can't handle that. That's not smart. That's diabolical. That's crazy. There's no smart there. Unless you're equally as diabolical as Donald Trump is, and you're going to say, yeah, that's a smart man's tactic. That's a smart thing to do. So here we have a situation where we're just stuck. And we're stuck in a pile of shit. That had our leaders actually seen and had some foresight in on how this personality, this Vladimir Putin guy, was behaving and acting. I mean, he poisoned people in other countries and basically got away with it. Vladimir Putin. He again basically got away with it. What the actual fuck? And to say that's smart? No, that's diabolical. Is what that is. Putin is diabolical. Putin is not smart. And Donald Trump and others are literally giving aid and comfort to the enemy. Like I have the story, the Tom Cotton. Tom Cotton is a coward. Another coward here in the Republican Party. Let's go to the story here from The Hill. Cotton avoids condemning Trump for his praise of Putin. Let's take a look here. So, Tom Cotton is a cowardly human being. Tom Cotton did not want to get his nose in the thick of it and stick his beak out and basically say, yeah, I disagree with Donald Trump. He couldn't get out there. He's too much of a coward to get out there and say, yeah, I disagree with Donald Trump. Instead, he said, George, speaking on This Week, George, you've heard what I have to say about Vladimir Putin, that he's a ruthless dictator who launched a naked, unprovoked war of aggression. Thankfully, the Ukrainian army has anti-tank missiles that President Obama, there's blaming Obama, would not supply, that we did supply last time Republicans were in charge of Washington. That's why it's so urgent that we continue to supply those weapons to Ukraine. Cotton responded. Stephanopoulos pressed Cotton on why he was apparently declining to condemn Trump for his continuation to praise Putin. Cotton retorted that Stephanopoulos should ask Trump directly. Why don't you go ask Trump directly? He retorts. Basically saying that the politicians should speak for themselves. And Stephanopoulos continued to press Cotton on his answer, saying that he was quite confident that Cotton would have provided comment if former President Obama or Biden had said something along the lines of what Trump had said. And he's right. Tom Cotton is happy to condemn someone who is on the different political aisle that they are on, because Tom Cotton is a coward. Tom Cotton does not understand leadership. Tom Cotton is totally okay. I have to fix this. It's driving me nuts. My hair was in my face in the wrong way, and it's driving me absolutely insane. Excuse me. This is why I'm uncomfortable on the camera, by the way. Tom Cotton is just cowardly. He won't go after Donald Trump because he's afraid Donald Trump would go after Tom Cotton. Again, even saying that you would attack President Biden or President Trump, if you said that, Tom Cotton again avoided addressing Trump's remarks, reiterating that he would focus on Russia's aggression. Stephanopoulos, for his part, doubled down on his questioning, saying he couldn't understand why Cotton could not condemn Trump. And I'll tell you why. Because Tom Cotton is a coward. He's afraid of Donald Trump. He's afraid of pissing off the Trumpists and getting them all hooting and hollering at him because he dared criticize the Fuhrer. Cotton said, I'm delivering my message to you, which I said has been clear. Whether Barack Obama's president, whether Donald Trump was president, and now whether Joe Biden was president, Cotton said. But Vladimir Putin has been a ruthless dictator for years. Too many people have not taken the threat seriously, and that's why you see the images we see in Ukraine now. Okay, great statement. Though you live the goose egg hanging in the air of why you will not go after Donald Trump for saying Vladimir Putin is smart and our other leaders are dumb, because you are a coward, Tom Cotton. You are clear and presently a coward. It's that simple. It's easy to spell out. You don't want to get the ire of Donald Trump mad at you because he holds a grudge and he acts like a despot, and he is a despot, a pseudo-dictator, and you're pathetic. And you, sir, do not have testicular fortitude. You are pathetic. You cannot just say Donald Trump shouldn't have said that Vladimir Putin is smart. You couldn't even go so far as to say, because you probably don't agree with it, Tom Cotton, Tom Cotton, I bet, does not agree with Donald Trump when Donald Trump says Vladimir Putin is smart. He couldn't even say, you know what, I agree with President Trump. That's why I'm not going to condemn him. I happen to agree with the president when he says Vladimir Putin is smart. Instead, what does he do? He takes the cowardly way out. Now, I know how a bunch of these people on the right would act if Russia invaded our country. They would take the cowardly way out. I don't need to guess like Donald Trump needs to guess. I know because of how they behave against Donald Trump. They are cowardly. They act cowardly. Because they are weak human beings. Donald Trump is not this big figure of superiority and genetic magnificence. He is weak. He is menacing. He's a bully. And he should be treated as such. Donald Trump should be treated as the bully that he is. In the upcoming election, in the 2022 congressional, we should remind people what the differences between Republican leadership and Democratic leadership. And it shouldn't be a hard thing to do. You should be able to do that. What progressives believe in and what progressives fight for. You should be able to educate Americans on where we stand without looking like the My Pillow guy going off on a reporter, yelling traitor at every turn. Pathetic as he is. It's sad. Zelensky has called for the EU to give Ukraine immediate membership. That's not going to happen. I want to talk about this poll. This poll actually pisses me off. This poll bothers me. This really bothers me because as peace-loving and wanting for peace as I am, this Hill article, most Americans in new poll oppose direct U.S. military action to stop Russia. Let's read that again. Most Americans in new poll oppose direct U.S. military action to stop Russia. When do we stop Russia exactly? When they're in New York Harbor? When do we do it? According to a CNN poll conducted by SSRS, 83% of respondents favored economic sanctions against Russia, and 62% said they wanted U.S. to do more to stop the invasion. But if economic sanctions fail, 42% favor more direct U.S. military action against Ukraine, while 58% oppose such a move. 60% of independents, let's just put this in here, 60% of independents and 56% of both Democratic and Republicans opposed military actions should sanctions fail, according to CNN. The poll enters its fourth day since Russian President Vladimir Putin declared a special military operation. I am not by any means calling for direct Russian intervention. You guys at this point on the Nosey Liberal know this about me. I'm not a warmonger. In fact, I've said on the show that I declare myself a coward when it comes to fighting against somebody else and using a weapon, and I'd shoot myself in the foot before I'd shoot anybody in the face. That's just how I view it. But I had those towers behind me, those twin towers behind me, as a warning against acts of aggression. And what acts of aggression, if allowed to be accomplished, do to people. They destroy civilians. It's never the people in power. What did Hitler get? What did Hitler get? He got a bullet to the skull that he put himself in. He got a bullet to the skull that he put there. Vladimir Putin is not going to be scathed in this intervention. I'm not saying U.S. tanks need to go into Russia. By any means. But what I am saying is that sometimes you have to look at the possibility of having to defend yourself or asking others to defend you. In my case, I think America and the European allies should be defended. I think we should use troops as a last resort. But I think at some point, they should be used. I'll get canceled for this on the left. I'm sure. But to allow people who are... It's one thing to invade another country like Iraq and bring freedom and democracy and bomb the hell out of the country. But I have a particular disdain for people in power who say, you are a part of me. Now listen very clearly. You are a part of me. I want you to stay a part of me. And I'm going to use force. We don't allow this in domestic situations. Why do we allow this in international situations? I'm going to allow force to be used against you, against your will, because you don't want to be with me, but I demand that you be with me. And by the way, I'm going to harm women and children in the fucking process. Seriously? Russia is essentially, Vladimir Putin is essentially the abusive boyfriend in this relationship with Ukraine. Vladimir Putin is the abusive boyfriend in this relationship with Ukraine. Ukraine is saying, no, I don't want to be with you anymore. We're broken up. I'm not with you anymore. And Russia is saying, but you are with me. In fact, we have a family together. And I'm going to show you how much I love you by beating your fucking skull in and running a tank over you. and doing all other sorts of things. Usually when this happens in a domestic situation, the police are called. And the police say, abuser, stop abusing. And the police say, abusee, the person who's been abused, we're going to help you out of this situation, to get you out of this situation and protect you. Dare I say, the United States of America and NATO allies in the US and the EU need to step in as the police and get Ukraine out of the abusive situation they're in. Because it's not like some Ukrainian Zelensky is going to go up to Putin and shoot him in the head and stop it from happening. And I'm opening a soda. I've only had 2 today, by the way. 2 so far, which is good for me. You see what I'm saying with this analogy? I'm not saying invade Ukraine, help the Ukrainians out, go after them. We need to spread democracy everywhere. I'm not George Bush in this situation. What I'm saying is, I'm like the neighbor who calls the cops when I hear a woman getting beat up or a man getting beat up in a relationship. I'm the neighbor who calls the cops. That's what Ukraine needs right now. Ukraine needs a neighbor that is going to stand up to an aggressive boyfriend. Russia is the aggressive boyfriend. You can't convince me otherwise. Because Russia is literally saying, Vladimir Putin's Russia is literally saying, you were in this relationship with me. You are still in this relationship with me. You never got out of this relationship with me. Therefore, we are in this relationship together, and how dare you think about leaving? It's not for you to say to get out of this relationship. It's not for you to say to get out of this relationship. That is what Russia, Vladimir Putin, is saying to Ukraine. And Ukraine has said, I don't want to be beaten up by you. I don't want to be in this relationship with you. It's an abusive relationship. For Christ's sake, look at what happened with Chernobyl. It's an abusive relationship that I don't want to be in with you. Russia. I don't want to be beaten by you anymore. Talk about battered wives syndrome on an international scale. And then you have Donald Trump. That one friend. There's always one, right? Who gives the whole thing a pass. I don't see why they can't make it work out. They had so many good laughs together. There's always that one friend who's just like, man, I mean, O.J. Simpson had that friend. RJ, what was his name? Collins. The one who drove him in the Bronco. O.J. Simpson had that friend. You always have that one friend who will be like, and Donald Trump has Russia as, and is Russia's one friend. Vladimir Putin's one friend. Saying, I don't see why you guys can't do it together. I feel for what you're going through, Ukraine. And I pray for you. But if you just were in a relationship with Russia, If you just let them be in the relationship you're with, I don't see why you can't do that. It's for your best will. This is literally a domestic squabble on an international level. You cannot convince me otherwise. I'm gonna bring this up with Rick Smith. I want to hear what he has to say about this when we talk to him on March 2nd. I think that's what this is. You can't convince me otherwise. That this is not a domestic relationship squabble. Vladimir Putin is the husband in this relationship who is controlling the wife or the girlfriend or the boyfriend and saying, no, you can't get out of this relationship. You can't do that. You can't do that. I'm not going to let you. You got to be the neighbor. Somebody has to be, the U.S. has to be the neighbor, and the U.S. has to call in the troops. I'm sorry, it's the reality of the situation. I don't want to call in the troops. Nobody ever wants to be the neighbor who calls the police on a domestic call. Nobody ever wants to be put in that situation. But when children are dying, and when we have a situation that will bring international famine, because Ukraine is the wheat basket of the world, and Ukraine feeds so many people, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? Tell me what you're going to do at FY Nation. Tell me what your solution is. Especially, I want to hear from the people who are like, nah, we can't go to war. We can't do that. What else do you do? Are we going to let the EU do it? Are we going to let you, seriously? Let the EU do it? They did so well fighting the Nazis in World War II. They did so well. I mean, seriously. This is explain to me again how this is not an abusive relationship. And Russia's Vladimir Putin is the abuser. I may not be original here in this. I freely admit that I could not be. I don't think I'm original in this. I think it's sad that we're here. And you have that one friend, Joe Biden. Joe Biden is the one friend in the relationship is like, I want to help, but there's only so much I can do. I like both y'all. I want to get along with both of you. That's Joe Biden in this relationship. Joe Biden is desperately trying to get Ukraine and Vladimir Putin's Russia together in this situation. And it's not going to work. Because it's just not. And here we are. Stuck. Tell me I'm wrong. Please. Dear God. So I'm going to talk to Rick Smith about that. We're going to talk to Tom Hartman this month on the Nosey Liberal. He's going to come on the program. We're going to get to talk with Robin Kincaid on the program. We're going to get to talk with Ron Placone on the program. We're going to get to talk with Desi Doyen, who I'm working on confirming a date on the program. We have a lot of guests coming up in March for you. this end of February, this last day of Black History Month. So I cannot wait to do more shows with you. And I really enjoyed doing this 3-hour program. It didn't feel like, the only bit of a chore that it felt like is near the end. It's a little rough around the edges at the end. But I really love the new technology. I love you guys coming on to the Nosey Liberal at FYNation.com and listening, and your participation, I hope, will consume you to get more people liking and subscribing our Facebook page and our other pages that we have. And I think we will do better in the long run. I have great hope for this show. I do. And I'll be more comfortable as we move on. And the less I have to fight with technology to make this show happen, the more comfortable I'll be. That's always the thing. And the only technology I'm presently fighting with is a computer monitor that I hate. So there's that. So if I don't scare you away on the YouTubes and the Twitters machines, be sure to check out Sout. I want to become the most watched and popular liberal morning show in the country. That's the goal for 2022. The goal is to become the most watched and popular morning show in the country. And I think we could do it. With your participation and with your donations to Patreon. Those are key. Helping us out with the Patreon is key. So for those who do that, thank you. It's definitely appreciated. But I gotta get more comfortable being in front of the camera and dealing with that. And I will in time. You gotta get comfortable with me. I will play less loosey-goosey with things and be a little bit more organized. I really wish I had an executive producer for the show, but unfortunately I don't. It's just me. I am the executive producer. And I think we will give you a good show. I think in the long run we'll give you something that you want to come back to every day and participate with and help fund. I think that's what you will want. And I'm hoping we can invite more people on. This is just not a fluke. I hope to have more people on. Because I really adore getting to have Tom Hartman on the show. This is amazing that he's coming on. So there's that. I really want to grow the show and grow the network and really show that you can do this on a large basis. So I think we'll get there. Especially with your help. So I want to thank everybody who's put up with the 5 years of technical glitches and computer issues that luckily we should no longer theoretically have anymore. Having brand new equipment. It's not just one. We have 2 pieces of equipment. Before we only had one. So you had to rely on, if something happened to the one, it crashed and you were done. Now we have 2 pieces of equipment that we can rely on and really do a good show with. And I think we're going to get there. And I really hope that we can do that. So Ron Placone, Rick Smith, Tom Hartman, Robin Kincaid, Rory Boyd will also be on the show. I'm excited about March. I really am. I'm super excited about March. I think we're going to have great upcoming shows for you. I think it'll be fun. I'm going to also reach out to some other people for some help to make the show grow. But that'll come in time. But I want to thank you guys for sticking with the network, sticking with the show. It really means a lot that you're willing to do that, because it helps me want to continue. Because we really are communication with motivation. The app, let me remind you, the app, you can download the app from the App Store in Google App Store and the Apple iTunes App Store. All you have to do is simply scan on the QR code at the bottom of the FYNation.com website. There's a QR code at the bottom of the website. You scan on that, you download the app, and you have instant access to FY Nation. And in the next 24 hours, you will have access to the videos. This video will not be up as far as a video goes, because the beginning was a disaster. And that was my fault. But next week, or tomorrow and the upcoming weeks, we will have everything else up for you to be able to watch and to listen to and go from there, because it won't be a disaster. But that being said, when you produce everything and you do everything yourself, you are always grateful for the people who stop by and listen and stay with you for the couple of hours that we do the show. And that's what I want. I want more participation. I want more people listening. I want more people watching on the YouTube channel. And drinking less soda. I am trying to cut down, I promise you. I am trying to, this is the wrapping up of the show, as you can tell. But I am trying to cut down on my soda consumption. It is difficult. I drink at least 3 sodas a day. I've only had 2 this morning. I've only had 2 this morning. I'm on literally my 2nd soda today. So I'm doing much better than usual on the soda partake frontier. I can do better. I can definitely do better. But in time that will come. I think we will do better with the show. I think we have great stepping stone for everything for you guys to be able to give you a great show. Now, if TuneIn would update the channel with everything on it, that would be great. I'm going to get after them again later today and see if TuneIn will update our channel, because that would be awesome. Tom Hartman will be coming up at 12 o'clock, so I hope you enjoy his show. And I want to again thank you guys for participating and listening and everything else, and we'll just bring it even better tomorrow. Every day we will strive to do just a little bit better than the day before. And the fact that you're willing to stay with me through this means the world to me. It really means a lot. So I thank you for that. I think we'll do better. In fact, I know we'll do better. But I think it just takes a little matter of time, and we'll get there. And just bear with me, as you've been bearing with me and the network. It's not something that comes overnight, unfortunately. Trying to think if there's anything else that I need to add for you guys. Again, Rick Smith this month. Rick Smith will be here on the 2nd. You don't want to miss that interview at 10:30. Tom Hartman will be here on the 14th. On the 15th, Ron Placone will be here. On the 16th, Robin Kincaid will be here. On the 17th, we will have the amazing talented, wonderful, and I forgot their name as I was going to say it. That's why I'm stretching this. Amazing, talented, and there's somebody else. And I feel hideous because I forgot the name. Way to do a promo. Desi Doyen will also be here. We haven't confirmed a date, but the 17th, Jeff Waldorf. I always say his name wrong. Jeff Waldorf will be here on the 17th. That's what I was trying to remember. So gear up, like, share, say, subscribe the website, and thank you for watching and listening to FYNation.com. Remember, you can download the FY Nation radio app. At the bottom of your screen, there is a QR code that is completely free, and just download that information, and you can get all of the stuff that you need to listen to FY Nation and watch this show right on the QR code starting tomorrow. The YouTube site will be updated on the page, but the rest of it will come in time, and my apologies for the little bit of lateness, but had to get everything working. And thank you for putting up with me as I got the show working with all the issues that we had technology-wise today. I really do appreciate that. That is an epic, wonderful wonderment in the fact that you guys helped me get this show ready for prime time, and have a great morning. Coming up next, the Tom Hartman Show. Thank you all for listening. Have a great day. Stay safe, everybody. Stay woke. And this is Woke Talk Radio on FYNation.com.